That's all just junk. You know, this is rubbery. When I come out of the shower, all of this junk that's coming out from under my skin up here, it's just sheeting off. So, but in the hot water, this poorly formed nail material, it gets rubbery. It's never really formed up under there. It doesn't really form into nail until it hits the air, or it gets right to the edge, and then it gels up. But if your whole system is as clogged as mine is, and most people who have bitten their fingernails badly, then it's going to stay junk. It's not forming the proper nail anywhere. This is just crud that's coming out on top of the nail bed, and it's wanting to sheet off. It may firm up, but it's traveling on off now. Before it just stayed, it just stayed forever. And this is more. I'm not going to pick more off of it because it might go right down. Might go right down to the nail bed. But you can see all of that is just junk. You can see that's just riding out from under here on the nail bed. And it will never form nail. It will always, it's just filling up these grooves. This is more, this is has formed and is harder. But the loose crud just fills up the voids. I think it sits up under there like that, and it just dumps out. That's getting close. See, this whole front is going to come off, and I don't want it yet. This is a whole separate, it's like the old overnail or something that was, it was like an applique that these girls glue on their fingers. This was just a dead nail that was sitting on top. And now that I've broken the cuticle loose, it's moving out, and all of this trash that was dammed up behind it when it was frozen locked down by the cuticle. All of this trash now is just like dumping out and traveling out on the nail bed. But it's not even having time to form nail. It's not coming out the right way. You're supposed to make, whatever dead skin accumulates in a day is supposed to be traveling off constantly in an uninterrupted fashion. That obviously hasn't been happening with me for like 65 years. So I have all this dead nail skin material, waste skin up here, and you can actually see it, pockets of white underneath my skin. My fingers are starting to deflate as all of this crud moves out. Backlogged dead skin is moving out now, along with the compromised nails. As you see, every nail is a different story. It depends on what you did, how you bit it, when you bit it, all the other compounding factors. So this one will have, damage down here in the corner or something, where you bit. There might be this right here. Could be just where the soft stuff was, or it could be where there was actually a hard nail flake up under here. And it created the void where the more malleable, flexible stuff is trying to come out underneath it. But if it got frozen there, then the hard nail flake up here that you didn't get out when you were biting your fingernails, or it could have formed another way. When you jam your nails like that, this nail material tries to get out over, under, around, any way it can. And sometimes it will go up over and just form a little horseshoe piece of nail up there that was maybe never connected to anything, and it's just an obstruction. The old nail, still hasn't turned loose. This is an over nail, all of it. This is just like a shell that's glued on to the nail bed, and it's a very imperfect bond. You see, because the dead cuticle is in layers underneath the nail, so it's not adhering properly. And as I've taken, my nails used to be way out here, way out in front. They came out in front of here, and a lot of this dead skin, this is just layers and layers of dead cuticle skin here. That's all callus, basically. It's dead. And so you let all this dead skin, you see how far back here the nail bed is. Okay, that's supposed to be the end of the world right there. And then you get a little bit of little fingernail right there, a little crust of white. It's not supposed to be any further out away from the end of the nail bed than that. So, but when you have all this dead skin wrapped up in here, layer after layer, the nails just grow out over it, and all of this under here is just impacted dead skin. You can pick it out, and I have been picking it out with a razor knife, like that. But most of this now is sheeted off. But you can see this is just layers. That's layers and layers and layers of dead cuticle skin, and it will all just continue to peel off. So all of this rubber bumper here on the front of my finger, it's going to go away all the way back to here. All of this on the side is excess. Right here. This doesn't want to be, there didn't want to be any real skin past right here. It's supposed to drop straight away. This is all callus material. It's just soft right now from getting out. And when it dries and it dries out, it'll get hard. And these pieces of dead cuticle on here, I'll just be able to get in there and pick them out. It'll come right, little pieces of semicircular pieces of cuticle that are jammed up under here. I'll be able to pick them out with this knife, and you can see the layers. This is all in layers. That's how many layers of skin are you supposed to have on your fingers? Well, I've probably taken off, 200 layers off of this finger. And old nails have moved out. And when this nail first formed and came out, I was calling this new nail material. Well, it is to a certain extent, but it's been up here, under here for 1,000,000 years. And the other thing that I've only just realized is that because this is projected out in front, it used to be like that, right? So I had more dead skin on the front of my finger like that, a big bunch of it. It was a big rubber nubbin like Smeagol in Lord of the Rings. And then the nail projected out over it, but it wasn't attached to the nail bed. It's just hanging out there. That's why you see nails that get wavy on the end, or they curl down they just come out and then they're unsupported, and they roll right down uh, in mimicking the curve of this pad. And you'll see the nail comes off the edge, and you can just see that it droops and goes down. But what's happening then is you've got a nail out here, but it's racked out there like a stack of playing cards that you've taken and just pushed forward. They're not straight, up and down. They're stacked in a cantilevered fashion. And it starts back here, wherever it's really attached. And the next nail will be a little further out, and then there'll be a layer of cuticle over that, and the next layer a little out. So I had nails out to there, but my nail bed's all the way back here. And it compensated because as this dead cuticle material builds up, it starts where it's supposed to be, back here. And then every additional layer, it tends to tilt forward and come out. So the nail appears to be the right length because you've got it way out far in front of the nail bed here, and then this cuticle has wrapped all the way back to here. My cuticle was probably out to here before I started peeling it out. So the nail appeared to be the right length. And what's happening now is the whole thing is basically, as I take it off, it's shifting back to where it's supposed to be. So back here somewhere is the real cuticle, where it's supposed to be. And the nail is supposed to start there. And it's only supposed to go to there. And then a tiny little bit that you can see that's white. If you've got big bands of white, if you've got a lot of skin on the front of your finger like that, and your nail is out here like this, and there's a big band of white up under here, you haven't got real nails, dude. You don't. And now you really see this damage. I've been picking at this for over a year. And I get stuff like this every day, and every day it's a different deal. You have to start paying attention. This stuff does not go away until you go back and get all the damage you did whenever you were biting your nails, and then you stopped. And then the new nail material just kind of flows out. It's very plastic. And this nail material just kind of flows out like floor wax, and it'll fill up all the imperfections. In a day or two, just washing my hands and stuff, all of this crud will go away. See? But this is a real mess, and what it'll do is it'll send out like a wax coat, and it'll fill up the imperfections here. It'll fill up the dents. Not with this loose cruddy stuff, but with this like from the moisture. It's like a resin. It's like a 2-part resin or something. So it'll level. And in a few days, this nail will start to look almost normal again, unless you know what you're looking at. And then if you don't do any more nail maintenance, it'll lock right back down, and that cuticle will glue itself to the nail. And when this nail starts moving, the dead skin is not traveling off daily the way it's supposed. The dead skin that's made in a day is supposed to travel off in an uninterrupted fashion. And if you jam it up like this and then you start the line again, it's gonna be herky-jerky. You know, it's gonna come in a bunch like this. Will be a swell where this was jammed up behind the cuticle, and you took it out, and you can actually see the ridge, the dent where the cuticle was around there. And it'll move out away from it, and then you can see the nail bed down there. You go, holy moly. But this is what's going on. These are still just emptying out the trash. It's not even trying to make real nails yet. We're not anywhere close to there. And the same thing here. But you see now, when this crud actually peels off, when all of this surplus skin, that hurts. I got a little too deep there. You see, this has nearly cut myself there. But you can see here, this is all callus. You know, this whole thing's coming off. All of this rubbery stuff here on my finger, it's all coming off. It's going to peel away. And some of them are starting to be tight up here, and then they immediately go out to here. I mean, it comes in like that. Some of my fingers are like that. And you can see they're trying to get back to their right shape and their right profile. And the same there. The profile's been ruined. These are actually starting to take their spherical kind of arch shape. Before, they were flat there where the cuticle had grabbed it and layer lined up. And so the nails were actually flat there. Some of them were like 2/3, like that, and then 1/3 over here, and much sharper. And there'd be a peak right here, right down the nail. So if you've got nails that look like they're bridged like that, that's because the cuticle has trapped the nail, and the nail material, being plastic, is being forced into the shape of that that's constricted by that extra material. But you see now, underneath there, you can actually start to see where the nail bed is, and you can start until you get back here. See, I still haven't found the nail bed. It's right here somewhere. I'm getting close, but it could be back up here. See, the nail bed might not start to there. This is wanting to come off already, you see. And when it does, what you're going to see is that this is just a big shelf here, and this has all just been projected out over it. And all of this will then start to dry up and peel off. You see how it's done here? It's going back to wherever the nail bed ends. That's where your fingernail's supposed to end. And maybe just a little tiny bit more, a 32nd of an inch or something. So say my nail bed is actually there and I've actually gotten back to where it is, then my nail should not be any further than that. And this is not supposed to be there. There's not supposed to be any fat skin way out here. It's all just callus. It's all dead skin, layer after layer after layer. You can see the layers. Look, see? And I mean, when this peels off, dries up, it'll dry up, and this will all get flaky, and I'll be able to pick it out. But then tomorrow it's going to be the same thing over again. And this is a lot looser. It used to be tight. I mean tight. It was hard to pick out. And now I know I'm actually making progress because this, you see, is standing away from the nail. You see that? That's kind of new. I've relieved enough of the pressure from all that dead cuticle material that was wound around and around like rubber bands. I pulled enough of that garbage out, and you can see under here, this is junk here. That's not nail bed. That's just crud. That's a dead cuticle material that's just been laminated up under there, and then another more nail material just grows out over it. It's all determined by when you started biting your fingernails, but you know how that's very intermittent. So if you bit your nails off back to here, some of my nails you can see. I wondered what was going on because it's like I could see the outline of other nails underneath. I didn't understand that. But they're actually all separate. They're stacked up like a deck of cards. And so, but you can't see all the way through the whole thing. It's very opaque. But when this nail is visible on top, then the next one, the shadow nail, you'll see where it was bitten off. You'll see it start right here where you bit from the corner, and it will come all the way out just like it did when you had it all bitten off. And then what happens is the dead cuticle that's already under there, when you bite that again, you bite that cuticle, it dies. And it grows a new cuticle underneath. It's all unitized. The cuticle is all one thing. So you compromise it here in the corner, right, by biting it out. And maybe you leave a little nail flake in there. There's probably more damage still here. I haven't gotten it all out. But you'll leave a little nail flake in there, and then you'll see the nail tries to flow around it like that, and then back out here like that. But that'll be there, and then the next one will come out, and the next one will come out. But the cuticle forms under there. When the skin is exposed, the nail bed is exposed, it'll skin over, and then the nail will want to grow out over it. That's a dead nail from there on out, and from then on, It's not attached to the nail bed. It's an artifice. You're fooling yourself. You don't have any real nails. You know, your real nail, if it's there at all, is the part that's actually stuck to the nail bed or right on it. And there's not supposed to be a million layers of it. And they're not supposed to be interleaved nail material and cuticle material, and nail material, a layer of nail and a layer of cuticle. Because out here on the leading edge, the cuticle forms up under here, and then the nail will come out over it. And then when you do it again, the nail will grow. The cuticle will form, and the nail will grow out over it. And so what you get is like a shuffled deck of cards that's only been half stuffed together. You'll be a layer of cuticle, not all the way back here, but out here on the leading edge, you'll have a layer of cuticle and then a layer of nail. A layer of cuticle and a layer of nail. And it's going to delaminate that same way. And when you take off a layer of top nail, the dead cuticle skin underneath it is going to peel off. And now you can see this is the shelf that it's all sitting on. And you can see, you can break these away. You'll see, sometimes you just take this and pull down on it, and you can see that the cuticle runs right up under the nail. You know, it's not supposed to do that all the way back here. Come on. I don't think I look at this stuff. I resisted looking at on the internet, you know, and now I see I did it once, and I said these people don't know what they're looking at, because I had already been picking at my nails for a year, trying to get the dead. I made one decision, and one right decision. I said we're going to get all the dead material, all the junk, all the dead nail, all the dead skin, all the callus. We're going to get rid of all of it, and then we're going to see what we've got. And we're not there yet. I still don't really know. No. But the doctors, I don't think, know either. Because you can see this. This is all this. All of this was covered by nail. The nail probably came all the way out to here. And they looked big, wide, and beautiful. They were way too wide. They had spilled out past where they were supposed to be. And they had become oval because they weren't constrained anymore by their natural boundaries. They built up and built up and built up, and then the nail starts to not only project out here, but it projects out to the side also, spills out everywhere. And when I've had these nails start to move out, when I broke the cuticle loose, and the whole nail will start to move out, and then you can see that the nail bed actually is way back here on the side. And all of that, you can see that's a different texture there. Yeah. So this is actually this nail is supposed to be straight, razor straight on the sides. You see people whose nails are right, and those sides of their nails are parallel, and they come way out. And this nail, as compromised as it is still way too wide. There's not a lot left sticking out in front, but this is all bogus here, probably. You know, if it's sitting on top of dead cuticle skin, and we still don't know. But every time I take a layer of nail off, right, you see there's just more shelf under there. And it's not supposed to be there. There's only supposed to be 2 layers of skin, dermis and epidermis, right? It's not supposed to be a million layers of skin there. It's just incredible. And I couldn't see, you know, I mean, there was no way I could see what I'd actually done. I mentioned in another video that I first knew I had a problem when I spilled oven cleaner on my hand. And it took the nail off, and there was nothing underneath. Let's see what we got over here. It's kind of a spastic tutorial, I'm sorry, but you know, this kind of on the fly here. But you see there, that's just junk there, and it's peeling up, and that's going to come out. That flake up there, like that. This is not, you can't even see the shape that the nail hasn't reformed or started to reassume its correct shape. You can see how the nail flattened out. Enough of my nails have gone, but that they're actually starting to turn back into cylinders or a section of a cylinder. But you can see how this is spread out. It's supposed to be back here. This is not supposed to be there at all. This is some kind of an overnail, right, that formed on the side. It just spilled out everywhere. It came out, you can see it there. It came out over here. And then it continued, layer after layer after layer. The nail got wider and wider and wider. And when these big honking nails broke loose and moved out, it left a gaping void here. Because the nail was so much bigger. When it moved out, it takes a while for the skin to collapse, right, back down. It'll go back down and lay on whatever is coming out. But when this big honking nail moves out, you'll see that it's way too big. And the nail wants to be much smaller and only as big as the nail bed. Look at all this. This is junk that's formed on the front. And then this is where I'd bitten off the nail, see? Back here and to here, like that. And then this impacted skin forms under there. And the next layer of like floor wax, sealer, just comes out and makes the nail over all of it. And it'll do that over and over and over again. And it just builds up and up and up and up. You need to start paying attention. You got to do something about it. It does not fix itself. I promise you that. I started biting my nails when I was 5 years old. But before, this was jam tight, and I had to dig and dig and dig and pull these things out, and it was tight. But now I'm starting to relieve the pressure. And the pressure is a big thing. If you don't think that's disease, it's unease. It's all these problems are buried under your skin, under the nail. The body has tried as best it can to close the wound. Can't do anything about the damage. It's just closing the wound. And you can see now that that's broken. That's separating. It's breaking back. All the dead skin's got to come. All the dead skin, cuticle skin's got to come out. You see that's going to peel out, and it's going to come out here. See, that's just row after row after row. This is going to come out all the way around here. And then the next layer and the next layer and the next layer. The real nail is probably supposed to come down here, wherever the cuticle it actually is. And you can still see this stuff jammed up behind it. But you can see that this was up under here. This was actually probably like a thumb swell or something that was all jammed up here where the cuticle was wrapped around tight, and then there was a big, so it created a dam. And this actually went up. When I started, this came off straight like that. The skin came straight. And then when it got out here, there was a hump. Okay, and then the level of the nail was all the way up here. And as this drops now, you see this just moves out. This is collapsing down to somewhere closer to the nail bed. But I've probably taken out, there's probably 1/8 of an inch or more of nail height that's come off, and it was all just stacks and stacks and stacks of dead nail that were not moving. They were frozen there because the nail had been locked down by the cuticle. And that was all caused as a combination of me biting my nails and not doing regular nail maintenance of breaking the cuticle loose from the nail. So when the cuticle seals itself to the nail doesn't move off properly anymore. And then this junk starts accumulating under your skin back here. I have very model-looking skin back here now because they're just like little pockets of white. It was solid white and I couldn't see it. It wasn't until I broke it loose and it started to move out that I could actually see the junk under the skin back here. And that's when you really start to wig out. You really start to see how extensive the damage was. But my fingers are so wrinkly in part because part of it is a function of age. My skin's loosening up. I was losing the elasticity of my skin, and it's just getting baggy anyway. And so I've wondered if, at my age, if this junk actually moves out, if my skin even has what it takes to tighten up to shrink and tighten up and not be wrinkly. I don't know yet. But I suspect the body will at least continue to fix itself. We'll still continue to try to repair the damage if I will just give it a chance. So this, on the internet, the doctors call this scoliosis of the nail. I call it silly business of the nail. I think what they've done is they've diagnosed the symptom as the disease. This junk is not the disease. It's the result of you biting your fingernails, more than likely, and nothing more complicated than that. And it's created an endless source of discomfort, unease, and pressure. It can be hard to think, but I used to rub my fingers and stuff. They were like irritated, and I would, it's you don't even realize that. Look at that. See? That's a layer and a layer and a layer. But you don't even realize that it's the discomfort. It's constant, and it just it worries you in a way. I'm not even finding the right words. It's just it's uncomfortable. It's under there and you don't see it. It's like a splinter, but it's not sharp like that. It doesn't really demand your attention. It just creates this sense of discomfort. And it's coming from all of this dead pieces of nail that you bit and didn't pull all the way out, that just got left in there. And then the cuticle grows around it and the nail forms around it, flows around it. And that nail flake stays in there forever until you go dig it out. If it's stuck, it's stuck. It's not coming out on its own if it's stuck in the nail bed, back here. All of this, and then the layer after layer, if you keep biting your nails, layer after layer of new cuticle forms up, and there's a nail flake all the way back here somewhere in the corner where you tried to bite it and pull it out, and you didn't get it all. It's just going to stay there until you go back and clean house. So this is a real mess. But anytime you see these red collars, discolor red around, people have got problems and they don't realize it. I mean, now I'm looking at my toes. I didn't think I had a problem with my toes, but actually now I can see that the nail is supposed to be all the way back here, and I've got just a thin layer of skin. I never bit my toenails, so that kind of saved me on that one. But the nail is supposed to be exposed all the way back to here, and I can see now I'm scrubbing my toenails with a stiff bristle brush, and it's my toenails are getting longer because I'm actually scrubbing the dead skin off that's overlaying the nail. But I didn't realize my toenails are not in as bad a shape, but they're not the right size. They're too big. So at some point in time, the same thing has been going on there. I just don't have nail flakes in the corners where I was biting my toenails because I never could. I wasn't that much of a contortionist. But you see this. That's a divot. So many nails now have moved off or flaked off. But every layer is different. It tells its own story. But you can see the groove in it from where it was grabbed by the cuticle. And when it moves out, you'll see that line. And if the nail turns loose and starts to move out, instead of being semicircular this way and leaving a groove all the way around like that, the nail might not be turned loose on the sides, but might turn loose here, in which case that groove in the nail will invert, and you'll get the crescent going backwards to the way it was. But that's because it was moving out in front and it was still stuck on here, on the sides. And so it reverses the curve. It's really weird. And it'll be constantly confusing. You really, and I don't know exactly. But I know this is a gigantic, see, that's a stack of nails. A stack of dead nails, one after another. And underneath there somewhere is the nail bed, and it's only supposed to have one layer of nail on it. And it's supposed to be fresh and new and made out of the dead skin that's coming out every day. It's supposed to process that amount of material every day, just like your regular, allotment or your work quota. You're supposed to do 25 shirts an hour or something, so 25 shirts an hour or something, but you're jammed. So this nail material, this dead skin, is not moving out. It's piling up back here. And then it's like starting up the line, it's a herks and jerks. It'll move out and it'll stop, and then a bunch of stuff will come, and then it'll be thin. But this stuff is just pouring out from under my skin, riding out on the nail bed, and so much of it I still don't know exactly where the nail bed is. But you see how short this nail is here, and I'm not back to the nail bed. I still don't know where the nail bed is. So if that's the nail bed, and I don't want to find out because it'll hurt, you don't want to get ahead of the game. But so I don't know until all of this dead cuticle, the layers and layers, I see there's a collar there. It goes around and I can feel it right back here. So it's likely that the nail actually wants to start back here, right, and go to here, wherever the end of the nail bed is. But the whole thing has been racked forward, and the skin was actually out farther. And that's what I noticed about my toenails too, is that, and now I see it in other people, these pictures on tiny little toenails. It's not just that they've been embalmed. Some of them, that's it. The skin some of them just submerge, in the skin. But even when all of that is not there, that's not the problem. They still have abbreviated nails because this dead skin is just built up over the back where the nail is supposed to be. When it all comes off, then your nail is going to be longer. But right now, my nails are shifting back. They were way out, they were out here, completely unsupported. So then, when you find the nail bed and where the front is supposed to be, when you take all this off, then the back is going to move back to here. I know it's confusing. I know the presentation is spastic. But the bottom line is, you're not going to get well. You're not going to get rid of this source of disease or discomfort until you go back and dig out all the damage you did when you were biting your fingernails. It is not going to fix itself. I see stuff on the internet where people have bottled up their fingernails. They've been embalmed in skin. This junk is piling up in their skin to the point that it's erupting like boils. They look like pimples. They're lesions on their skin that look like they're heading up like whiteheads of pimples. And it's this junk is erupting out through the skin because they've embalmed their nails. The nails haven't moved in years. So all of that waste is just accumulating back here. And if it can't get out here, it's going to come straight out the skin. It's going to head up like a pimple and pop. I hope this helps somebody. It's kind of just an exercise. I'm obsessed with it now that I figured out what's going on. But there are a lot of people walking around that don't know how much better they'd feel just subliminally had this has an effect on you. Just look at all that junk. See, and I've been carrying that around for 65 years and constantly picking at my fingers, you know what I mean? Because it's an irritant. It's irritating. It's just amazing. Look at that. Disastrous. But wherever the nail bed is, that's where the nail is supposed to be and nowhere else. Just a tiny little bit out in front of that. Not some ridiculous extension of unsupported nail that just sticks out into thin air. You can see that. See that plate? See, that'll all come out. I don't want to pull it out because it could really go deep. But that's all just junk. And it starts to soften up if you're in hot water. It's like gelatin. It melts. Becomes rubbery. And then it'll firm, now an hour after you're out of the shower, it'll firm back up. But when you wash your hands and scrub them with a little cuticle brush and stuff, a lot of this junk will come off. And the new kind of wet solution will just flow out like floor wax and start to fill those indentions up. And it'll be hard that time, because it's forming in air. But then if you've torn it loose, if you've gotten the nail loose, then it will move kind of rapidly off. And it's starting to dump out more and more junk from back there. And I'm happy to see it go. Let me tell you, I've been carrying, all of this has been jammed onto my fingers for most of my adult life. It's hard to say, I didn't stop biting my fingernails until I was 55 years old or older. And then my nails in relatively short order, they started to look normal. But that was just a top nail. It was a fake nail. It wasn't attached to anything but junk. And it just got frozen there because nobody ever told me you needed to, never told me why you needed to break your cuticles loose from your nail every day. And so they will move out. If they don't, they freeze in place, and then all this dead skin just jams up behind them, under the skin. If you ever pull it loose, the stuff will all just start to pour out. So if you got a situation where you bit your fingernails when you were a kid, and now you think your nails look fine, but you've got any of this kind of telltale stuff, rubbery, pad on your finger, any of that stuff going on, you need to take another look. It's layers, hundreds of layers of microscopically thin skin and nail built up. And it's not going to fix itself. You're going to have to strip it, just like a floor stripper. You're going to have to strip it back to nail bed and 2 layers of skin, the cuticle and the 1 layer of skin under that. That's it. You shouldn't be able to cut yourself like I have here and not have it bleed. I cut through, slipped, and cut maybe a 32nd of an inch deep in my finger, and it didn't bleed because this is just a callus. It's a soft rubbery callus. But when they start to pick this stuff out, the next layer will dry up and the next layer will dry up. It'll look fine. But then tomorrow this will all be dry, that collar in here. This will all dry. All this, see, this top layer that's coming loose here. This will turn into a definite crust like bread, and you'll just be able to flake it off or peel it off. And then the one underneath it, which you see goes right up under here, under the nail. It's not supposed to be like that. Come on. All of this was just grown out over this rubber nubbin. You see, that's not nail bed or anything. I saw one guy on the internet, he had picked at the front of his finger, and he had pulled the whole pad loose. The whole thing, and he had it pulled down, and he took a picture of it, but it's obvious he didn't know what was going on. What's up with that? That's a lot of callus. It's just a big callus. You're not supposed to be able to peel skin off like that off your finger and have it not bleed. But the nail was out all the way out here. All of this stuff has been there for years. Just layer after rolling up, layer after layer after layer, and then crud, more skin and impaction under the nail, and it'll fill up. The nail will be out to here, and on the drop on here, between here and the nail, here, coming off, all of this in here will just fill up with crud. And it'll look, and so when you look at the nail, if the nail's all the way out here, the skin will come right up to it like that. But it's all this filler. It's like it's been caulked. Hope this helps somebody. I'm getting old. See, there's not a big person. This is just for personal satisfaction. Don't carry junk like this around on your hands for 60 years. It's a source of disease, unease, discomfort. Always, constant. It's there, and you won't even know it. You won't know why. You won't know why you act the way you do, because this kind of stuff has an effect on you mentally, subliminally. I'm sure of it. And of course, it points to other problems too. Things are not going right, and you're not processing things right, and you're basically not getting the work done. That's why you're biting your fingernail. Something else is going on, and you're unhappy. I know exactly when it happened to me. It's when they took me away from my great-grandmother, and I had to go back and live with my parents again. Because in the 1950s, Granny was defax. There was nobody else. So they took me away from my grandmother, took me away from my mother, and gave me to my great-grandmother. And I was okay until my father deployed to Germany, occupied Germany, and I had to go with him. And I didn't realize it until years later I saw a picture. My first two class pictures in elementary school, which were in Germany. And I'd gone from being a happy kid to being miserable. And I could tell I looked like a drug addict with dark eyes, brown crescents under my eyes. It's just unbelievable. So that's neither here nor there. Your job is to get this junk off your hands, and you're not going to get better on your own. This is not going to fix itself. You actually have to dig all this stuff off. It's been there for 60 years. It's obviously not going anywhere without help. But you see, you pull 1/8 of an inch of dead skin off of there and not bleed. How can that possibly be right? And I could take that, and I can take it. I've done it over and over. You just take that and pull down on it, and it'll separate. Because this is all just junk under here. See? Yeah. I don't feel like cutting myself right now. But that's all just impacted crud. And that's just a stack of nails. It was like 1/8 of, when I first peeled it off and it got a big hunk down, pulled it down, it just like a layer cake or something. They were just, it looked like a stack of cards. It was maybe 1/8 of an inch high, which pushed this profile of the nail way up. And the same things was just going on everywhere. They all looked the same, and so I thought there was no one that was different that would give me a clue that something was wrong. Except generally I knew I bit my nails. And I thought I had grubby fingers, from working and stuff. But the reason your skin on your fingers has that nicotinous cast is because it's actually dead skin. It's not because you can't actually scrub it off. Oh well. Hope this helps somebody.